Star, and good morning. It's such a delight to be with you this morning, and a report on Leo from at the top of this brief presentation. Leo, who was our building manager, who courageously stood between many of our employees and a crazed gunman, took a shot, but he is doing well. God has intervened in that situation, fully embraced Leo, and Leo is doing fine. And we keep him in constant prayer, and we know that God has a lot more to do with him than some crazed gunman would try to take away. So it is a delight to be with you, and it's always a delight to be with Star. Lincoln was said to have gotten a message signed by a general out in the field, and it said at the end, "From your general in the saddle," from your general from his headquarters in the saddle. Lincoln read the message and said humorously to the person that was in the room with him, his headquarters is where his hindquarters should be. And one of the things that we know is that in Star Parker, we have someone who's on the front lines, not on the sidelines. Someone whose headquarters is right there where the fight is. And she's never sitting down on the job. So thank you for your leadership and your tremendous contribution as we move this country forward in our 237th year. It's interesting that we meet today on the anniversary of 9/11. What 9/11 did was it told us that there were dangers from outside of this country, dangers from people who would be so jealous of what we do and who we are that they would try to take us out. That is a danger that we are now painfully obvious of, and we're in the battle to make sure that we defend ourselves adequately. But there's another danger, and that is a danger from within.
Yes.
There's a danger that is at play every moment of every day in present day America, and that is a danger of people forgetting what has made us an exceptional nation. We're not a perfect nation, but as Lincoln said, we are a perfectible nation, which means that we can always be made better.
Yes.
Now, I think it's important that we understand that President Obama, a week before his election, said that we were a week away from fundamentally transforming America. America does not need to be transformed. It needs to be made consistent with its creed and its ideals.
Yes.
Those are the things that have made us exceptional. And there is a fundamental choice that the American people have, not only in this election, but in this moment in history, and that is, what path will we choose in the balance of our third century as a nation? Do we understand that free men and free women in free markets have made us the most prosperous, the most diverse collection of human beings in all of human history? We now have a president that wants to transform our national philosophy, founded upon the importance and the fundamental understanding of free individuals and the superiority of God, to a national philosophy founded upon the superiority of the collective and the fundamental supreme nature of the central government. That is a problem. You know, God speaks to us in mysterious ways sometimes. I thought it was fundamentally important that we saw how the organizers of the platform of the Democratic Party were quick to take God out of the equation, to take it out of their platform. Now, look, if you go to the Declaration of Independence,
yes,
that second paragraph is supremely important. We hold these truths to be self-evident, which my dad used to say is fancy speak for any knucklehead should be able to get this. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Now, we're not all equal in height, weight, intelligence, wealth, but we're all equal in human dignity, and we're all equal in our understanding of our accountability to God.
Amen.
We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, which means that our fundamental human rights are not grants from big government.
Come on now.
They're gifts from God.
Yes, sir.
We cannot be confused. And we must speak with great clarity as Starr does day in and day out to that proposition that our human rights, our fundamental rights, are gifts from God, not grants from government. Because if you take a look at all of human history, governments that are totalitarian, authoritarian in nature, governments that are oriented towards being a big welfare state, what is it that they have to do? They have to destroy the family,
Right.
and they have to chase God out of the public square. All you have to do is take a look at the biggest totalitarian, authoritarian nation in the world today, China, and you see that it is godless,
Yes.
and that it, in fact, has taken the family out of the equation. It has minimized the family. It has made, China's one-child policy. If, in fact, the state sees that you have more than one child, they will kill that child in the womb or outside of the womb. But that's the nature of totalitarian. That's the nature of authoritarian governments. And it is the propensity of big welfare states. And that's why it is not just political speak when we talk about what is at stake here. We, in fact, have to move away from a welfare state that is minimizing God and making families dysfunctional and obsolete as an institution. We know in our struggle that families are the incubators of liberty. That's where it starts. So what we're asking you to do is to join us. Because if I finish that second paragraph, hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Simple, direct, keeping with my Father's instruction. That was a particular order. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness is particularly difficult to be free if you're dead. And it's hard to pursue happiness if you're enslaved. So the first obligation of government is to protect innocent life. And then to defend individual liberty. Pastors, clergy, engage churchmen and women. There's a question that is asked, Psalms 11, verse 3. If the foundation be destroyed, what will the righteous do?
Yes.
We are at risk of, in fact, watching the foundation that has made us an exceptional nation be broken into little pieces and destroyed. STAR has responded. CURE has responded. You in your individual capacities have responded. What we need to make sure that we do is that we come together as forces for defense of our foundation, the foundation that has made us exceptional. There's a lot of correlation between what we see happening and the threat to that foundation. $16 trillion in debt. Let me tell you how that's a triple-headed problem. It is a moral threat because that means as we pile up the debt that we are engaged in intergenerational theft.
Yes, sir.
We're stealing from our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren. And talk to some of our children, they're saying we're taking a little bit from them. Intergenerational theft. We cannot let the greatest country on the face of the earth go down that path. It is also an economic threat. The anemic growth, economic growth, is pathetic. Only produced 96,000 jobs last month when we know that we need to grow at least 200,000 new jobs a month just to tread water. But when government expands and crowds out the private sector does not generate jobs. Bob and I have worked in the private sector. We've worked on boards and private sector corporations. There's a simple axiom among business folks and capitalists, and that is capital seeks the path of least resistance and greatest opportunity. Too many of our dollars, too much of our capital is going outside of this country. There's $1 trillion that private interests are sitting on because of the threat to that capital. We must, in fact, move down a clear-headed path that expands growth and creates jobs. Black unemployment is in real terms, at 17%. That's a problem. Why would we embrace a philosophy of expanding the welfare state, destroying the families, running faith and God out of the public square, as well as capital, when we need all of that to, in fact, put us on a path of growth and opportunity and liberty? So the third threat is a national security threat. We, in fact, right now, there are foreign countries that hold about 46% of our debt.
Dangerous.
Chief among those countries is China. How in the world? And let me just tell you something. As we fund the welfare state, you know how we fund the one thing that the federal government should be doing? Our defense. We fund it on borrowed money. How stupid is this? We fund our defense on money borrowed from China. So whenever the Chinese want to call that debt, guess what happens to our defense? It is crazy, it is stupid, and it must stop. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. We're not a perfect nation. We're a perfectible nation. We only get made better when all of us engage. I want to thank you for being here. This is an important moment in CURE's history. This is an important moment in our nation's history. And by definition, it is an important moment in world history. Because in 237 years, we've wrestled through the antebellum South and the institution of slavery. We've went through the struggles of the civil rights movement to a country that has now a Black American as its president. Now, we can sit back on our heels and talk about what the imperfections of the country. We can go back to history and talk about the plantations that many of our ancestors were forced upon. The question before us is, do we want to create a 21st century plantation on which we raise our children and they raise their children? Star's answer is no. My answer is no. Your answer is no. And together, we won't usher in a fundamental transformation of America. We will usher in the restoration of the principles that have given us the opportunity to shape this country into a better nation. God bless you.